Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel where we learn to be a better programmer. This is the 6th video in my Intro to Java tutorial. In this video we're going to talk about classes. Before we get started, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on the next part. So what are classes? Classes are the pillar of object-oriented programming. So that means that classes underpin the concepts of inheritance, polymorphism, and encapsulation. Okay? So here I am in IntelliJ. I created a new package called com Java tutorial and classes, and then I've created a new class called person. Okay, so a class contains the attributes and the functionality associated with an object. Okay, so when we talk about a person, say a person has a first name, a person has a last name. A person has an integer representing their age, a double representing their weight, a double representing their height, and so on, okay? So classes also have functionality that apply to that particular class. So when we talk about a person can probably say public void speak. So we pass in a string of what we want that person to say, so words or something, and we say system.out.println words. So that's how we kind of mimic the speak operation. So we say public void walk, and then just to simulate this, we're just going to say system.out.println walking. Okay, and so you get the idea here that functions are used to make an object do something. Okay, and the variables and fields are used to represent that object. Okay, so these are attributes that represent a person. And then the functions are the actions that a person can take. Okay, so how do we create classes? So this is think of this person class as a template for different types of persons that we want to make. Okay, so the way we do this is through a constructor. So a constructor is how we create or construct an instance of a class. Okay, so every class comes with a default constructor. So if I want to instantiate a person, I can say person, my person is equal to new person. Okay, so this syntax here with this open and closed parentheses represents the default constructor. So inside of person, we can say public person, and then system.out.println person created. So inside of main, when we run this, we should see that this person created sentence or statement gets printed out to the console. Awesome. So we see that person was created. So that's how we instantiate an object. We can create another constructor called public person, and then we're just going to say string first name, string last name. And then we can say this dot first name is equal to first name, and this dot last name is equal to last name. So let's just print these out. Okay, so we're going to go to main again, and then I'm just going to say Gerard and Taylor. We see that the name was printed out. So it created a person with these fields initialized. Okay, so it's important to realize that constructors have a very specific method signature. So constructor method signature follows an access modifier. So you could do public, private, protected, but there's no return type. So that return type is missing, and the name of the function has to match the name of the class. Okay. You can put in whatever parameters that you want to. So typically, you would want to construct a person with all of these attributes initialized with the creation of that person object. So IntelliJ makes this super easy. So if I hit Control, Generate, Constructor, I can select all of the fields that I want to be added to the constructor, and I click OK, and then here we have it. We can implement the toString object to print out a person with their attributes. So let's see what that looks like. System.out.println myPerson.toString. Cool. So we see that my first name, or my full name, is printed because we called that constructor that takes in a first name and a last name. And then the person object was printed as well. So we see that first name is Gerard and the last name is Taylor. But because I didn't set my age, weight, or height, they're set to null. If I create person, person2 is equal to new person. If I print out instead person2.toString, we see that person was printed per son, age 20, weight 150.9, and height 60 inches. Okay, let's talk about the methods that we call on the person object. So these methods aren't being called, and you can tell because they're grayed out. And these methods are called instance methods. So instance methods mean that we can call them on an instance of person. So I can say person2 dot, and then I can see the methods that we can call on it. So we can call speak, and we can say hello. And then we can also say person2 dot walk. We see my person, Gerard Taylor, is printed, and then we see person2 has said hello, and then person2 has also started walking. And then we've also printed out the person2.toString. Say we wanted to share a method across a person. So we could say all humans blink, for example. So we can just say public static void blink. So we can say system.out.println blink. Interesting thing about static methods is that we don't need to instantiate the person class. So we can just say person, the class, and then call blink. It means it's a class method and not an instance method. You can call it on the class directly without having to instantiate the object. And we see blink. Okay? But you could also say person2.blink. So it's giving me this yellow squiggly access via an instance reference. Static methods are meant to be accessed as a class member. If we have a static integer counter and we set it equal to 0, so this means that this integer is shared across all instances of the person class. So I'm just going to say count every time a person is created. At the end here, I want to say system.out.println number of people is going to be person.counter. Now, so that's very interesting, right? Because we instantiated two different person classes, but the static variable of counter was incremented twice across all classes, all instances of that class. The biggest takeaway that you should take from this class video is that classes hold information about a particular object, so those attributes or those fields, and then the methods define the object behavior. Okay, so that's all I wanted to talk about classes today. We're going to continue on with classes and object-oriented programming principles. So if you like the video, like and subscribe, and make sure you turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on the next part.